So some interesting information coming out in the Bryan Kohberger case involving the non-dissemination order, or as people like to call it, a gag order. Apparently both sides, the prosecution and the defense, are in favor of this gag order. Most recently, the Lake County Prosecutor's Office have released a statement right here. I'm going to read it to you. This is in the 2nd Judicial District of the state of Idaho. I find this to be very interesting. And by the way, I love your thoughts on this. I want to know what you think. Do you think that there should be a non-dissemination order, or do you think it's sort of overkill?
Yeah, I want to know what you guys think too. How we doing? True Crime King. I'm True Crime King. That's Tyler Feller, which we're going to be watching a video on him and reacting to. I reacted to one of his videos a couple weeks ago, and for some reason, some of you thought that I was Tyler. But no, we're not. So yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way. Yeah, let's see. The title is "No, This Could Work in Bryan Kohberger's Favor." So let's see what he's talking about, and if it's gonna work in Bryan Kohberger's favor, right? Here we go.
In this case, should there be a gag order for the Gonsalves family, or is that pushing it too far? And if there's a gag order for the Gonsalves family, someone explained to me how Kara Kernodle, Xana's mom, was able to do an interview. I still haven't been able to make sense of that. Is she not held in contempt of the court? Is there a different standard for different members of different families? I don't know. But so this is from Bradley Rudley, who's the Chief Civil Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for Lake County Prosecutors. He said to aid the court in review of the motion submitted by Mr. Gray to appeal, amend, or clarify the non-dissemination order, the state provides the memorandum and points. The state's interest is that we want to make sure it's a fair and impartial jury trial so that there's a conviction. And then they go on to say, here's cases: Bridges versus California, Farr versus Pitchless, Gentile, Irvin, Lafferty, Landmark, Marshall, Illinois, Seattle Times, Shepard, Standing Committee on Discipline, State versus Spencer, Turney, U.S. versus Davis. They just give sort of like a whole...
Remember, Xana's mom is the one that used to have the attorney that Kohberger has now. But I think she's trying to withdraw from the case. I haven't heard if she has officially yet. If you've heard something, put it down in the comments for me.
Overview of it, and then it says this: regarding the statements and witnesses of participants in the press, the United States Supreme Court stated, the court shall have insulated the witnesses. So if they're insulating the witnesses, are they saying that it's likely that someone in the Gonsalves family is going to be a witness? I mean, that's sort of the way I pick up on that. Someone in the Gonsalves family is potentially going to be a witness. That doesn't make any sense to me. It says all of the newspaper and radio stations apparently interviewed prospective witnesses at will, and in many instances disclosed their testimonies.
Yeah, I mean, how are they going to be a witness? I mean, it's not like they saw anything from the crime, right? I mean, unless maybe her dad's going to tell what the coroner told him, right? But I don't see any reason for them to be a witness, right? Again, put down in the comments if you guys have something.
A typical example of the publication, numerous statements by Susan Hayes before her appearance in court regarding her affair as Shepard. Although the witnesses were barred from the courtroom during the trial, the full verbatim testimony was available to them in the press. The judge was aware of the responsibility to respect that it may be seen from his warning to Shepard, the accused brother, who had apparently made public statements to discredit the testimony. So they don't want people discrediting testimonies, but the last time that I checked, the Gonsalves family were not witnesses. I mean, they were not even anywhere near the University of Idaho when it took place. They certainly didn't have any information about who Bryan Kohberger was.
Yeah, I know. In order to be called as a witness, you have to have some kind of information about the crime that nobody else does, right? But, yeah, I want to know who the informant is, too. Whoever's, snitching on Bryan, because that could mean there's an accomplice. So, I've still been looking out for that, too.
So I don't understand how they are having a non-dissemination order against them still. I don't understand how that is a good argument.
I'm just going to say a gag order. That's what it is.
Here's another argument that they're making. Due process requires the accused receive a trial by impartial jury. Given the pervasiveness of modern communications and the difficulty of effacing prejudicial publicity from the minds of the jurors, the trial courts take strong measures to ensure the balance are never weighed. So that one I can get behind. That one makes sense. They're basically saying, listen, we're going to have a hard time getting a jury trial if we unleash the Gonsalves family out to the media circus. The dad's pretty savvy. The family does well in communications. They know how to sort of push for an agenda. We've seen that time out and time again. And so because that we want to protect the ability to have a fair jury trial, it's going to be impossible because they're going to be infusing their conversations with the media a little bit too much. And I can understand that. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that would cause headaches for just everybody around, right?
To me. And that made sense to me about why the Gonsalves family shouldn't be allowed to have communications and should be under the non-dissemination order.
Yeah, in my opinion, everybody should be just like they are.
It goes on to say appellate tribunals have the duty to make an independent evaluation of the circumstances, but where there's a reasonable likelihood that prejudicial news prior to the trial will prevent a fair trial, the judge should continue the case until the threat abates or transfer it to another county not so permeated with publicity. In addition, sequestration of the jury was something the judge should have raised with the counsel. And the courts must take such steps to rule and regulation to protect the process from prejudicial outside interferences. Neither prosecutors, counsel, or defense, accused witnesses, court staff, or enforcement officers coming under jurisdiction of the court should be permitted. So I understand that. That's like the first thing that made sense. It's a strong argument. And then they go on to sort of just say, well, here's the total summary of our argument. The United States Supreme Court and Ninth Circuit Court District Appeals require that the court take affirmative steps to ensure the defendant receives a trial by impartial jury free from outside influences. So understanding that perspective helps me out a lot because Idaho is a small state and the average citizen is very interested in what's happening. It says, and to protect the processes from prejudicial outside interference. So they were just mentioning that case of Shepard versus Maxwell. The Supreme Court asked to review the habeas.
Well, land-wise, Idaho's actually a pretty big state, right? But people-wise, not so much. There's not much to do in Idaho, I don't think, right? If you live in Idaho, let me know.
Corpus application of a person convicted of first-degree murder in a case which received intense publicity and media attention. Prior to and during the trial, the courtroom was packed with media, and there were 5 volumes filled with clippings from each of the 3 Cleveland newspapers covering the period from the murder until Shepard's conviction in December 1954. In grading the habeas petition, the United States court found the trial
granting the habeas
failed to preserve Shepard's right to a fair trial. And I know, to me, at the end of the day, the thing that I'm really hoping for is that there will be a fair trial in this. Now, Jennifer Coffendorfer is the one who sort of summarized that and tweeted it out. One of the things she said it's well written and supported. We shall.
Yeah, real quick. It's going to be hard to get a true fair trial for Kohberger just because everybody in the whole nation already knows who he is, what he's accused of. I mean, that's just a fact, okay? So, you're going to have to get somebody that's going to say to both of the lawyers that they can still be free and impartial, right? But actually mean it. So, we'll see.
I'll see how the judge rules. Some people who are commenting on it, it's like, yeah, the judge ruling should be simple. Both sides see the merit of a gag order. It's almost like, hey, listen, the prosecution and the defense think that this gag order needs to be in place. So I find that to be interesting. There's a couple other things that she mentioned on her Twitter page today that I thought was interesting. releasing information to the public that shouldn't be released to the public would face consequences. And so I agree with this poll. Personally, I'd like to see the information. But from the part of me that really loves justice and getting down to the bottom of what's happening, protecting a fair jury, and making sure that at the end of the day that there is a trial that doesn't get a mistrial, or that there's not some sort of appeal that leads to some conversation that Bryan Kohberger wasn't given a fair trial. In order to protect that, we need to quit having things that are anonymous in sources. If you have people who are coming out and sharing information like this, and they're giving their names up, are they covered under the non-dissemination order or the gag order? I don't know, but they certainly maybe would be called as witnesses to talk about the.
No, I mean, you know, like, if I do something, right, I wouldn't be held under the gag order, right? No, that's just whoever's involved with the case.
Character of Bryan Kohberger. So let's just see what some of the people are saying in the chat section. There's a gag order for a reason. When it doesn't apply to the media, if anything about evidence is leaked and discussed, it could jeopardize the case. Exactly what I'm saying. And then there's a Bluetooth device that can prove Bryan Kohberger was in the house. We don't want the evidence to be thrown out. And
like the video I did yesterday, remember, there was a Bluetooth device in one of the rooms. And even if your phone is on airplane mode, it can still make a digital handshake. So, you know, us, the civilians, we don't know if it actually did show a handshake. But I just learned yesterday from watching that video that it definitely still could have made a handshake, whether it was on airplane mode or off, still could have.
So Jennifer's saying, yeah, but the freedom.
And that would be huge, you know, against Kohberger if his phone did make a handshake, because you actually you had to be close to the Wi-Fi for it to make a handshake, right? It's not like you can be miles away like with a cell phone tower.
Freedom of press is a cornerstone of our democracy. In my opinion, the press shouldn't be silenced. It is a cornerstone of our democracy, Jennifer, and I agree with that. The thing that I disagree is the tactics that's being used around the anonymous source. So if she's going to come out and make the statements about what's happening in this case, but she's not going to reveal who her source is, that's where it gets a little hairy to me. I believe in anonymous sources in the most extreme situations where their identity needs to be protected for their safety. In a situation like this, I don't think somebody's safety is sort of on the mend.
Well, I mean, if the girl doesn't want her identity out there, then I have no problem with it at all, right? You know, I mean, that's ultimately up to the girl who's given this information to the girl, right? I mean, you know, we can't get mad at her just for not wanting to release her name, right? That's her choice.
If they come out and say something. And by the way, Ashley Banfield came out and shared somebody's grades publicly. The last time that I checked, it's not appropriate to be posting somebody's private grades to papers publicly. It just isn't appropriate, and she was doing that.
I just think it sounds like he's got something against Banfield, or for some reason. I don't know. That's just what it sounds like.
Barbara says Ashley's crossed the line. Her so-called sources. I don't believe the FBI or police would talk about these topics. Her sensationalism is not something I want to follow. And then Jennifer said,
well, I mean, I'm sure they vet things there over there at News Nation and aren't just putting out false stuff, right? So if the information is correct, right, and just one of the sources doesn't want to come out with and say her name because she wants to remain anonymous, again, I don't see a problem with that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Says, well, duty runs a friend and brother, but source information isn't always has been invaluable to law enforcement, period. The FBI requires sources, and if you had no sources, you were rated subpar and could not advance. Many sources have great information but want anonymity, like most on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it.
Twitter. But it shouldn't. April says Banfield's job is to report information. Blame the ones that are leaking the information, not the messenger. Now I understand that.
Yeah.
I would understand that. So if I put myself in Ashley
Well, that's what she's doing.
Banfield's shoes, and some anonymous, and I genuinely didn't know who they were, anonymous person was giving me information, it would be a duty. I felt like I consider myself a YouTube journalist. People are like, you're not a journalist. I believe what I'm doing is journalism. And besides that, I am a journalist in other capacities because I've written several articles for news agencies and things like that. But
all right,
I consider myself a YouTube journalist, and I 1,000.
It's just like the guy from Turkey, Drunk Turkey, says he has 5 years of law enforcement, but he doesn't say what that is, right? It doesn't matter.
1,000% would report on something that was given to me, even if the source wasn't identified, if it was credible and reliable, and I could prove it. So from that perspective, I'll get behind that statement on that.
It's kind of comical how many people lie like on their resumes and stuff for jobs. There's a lot of people out there.
Ashley Banfield, and that is a win in that column. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about that poll that she gave. To me, it's one of the biggest pieces of contingency in this case. Do you guys think that Ashley Banfield should continue reporting information that are given to her by anonymous sources?
I do, because, it keeps giving all of us, more inside information about the case, right? Gives us some more stuff to talk about with the Kohberger case. Put some more clues together. I mean, we aren't getting information from anywhere else because there's a gag order. So, I don't know. And I personally don't have any problem with the one girl remaining anonymous, for at least for now, right? But, yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't, don't hit the like button. But, yeah, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, True Crime King, out.